really happy to be here again this year, and especially this year because this spring I have a new book of my own poetry that's been published by Larkspur Press called Moving Gardens, and I hope you'll take a look at it as you're going in or out today. So I'm going to read a few poems from that book. This is not a collection of recent poems necessarily, but poems that actually I've selected over probably 30 years or so, which all tie into a theme of gardens and different ways of seeing gardens. Excuse me. Clearing. Working the earth, even in a small way, we seek a sense of timing, when to let stand and when to clear. The flower bed is full of ragged skeletons now, ghosts of the festive gaillardia and the persistent snapdragon, the shreds and stalks of a former exuberance. Early in fall, with traces of color still showing, I hesitated. Facing a barren winter, I waited. Even the armatures of last summer's chrysanthemum, rattling in a cold wind, may hold a promise, may whisper the word garden when nothing else stirs. But now the green, tentative fingers begin to push through to split the frozen surface. The daffodil must have its yellow moment, unimpeded by the brittle shadows of last year. I have learned a little bit about timing, time to clear. I have a few poems in the book which came out of some time I spent as an intern at the Chicago Botanic Garden some years ago, and my favorite area was the Japanese garden, which inspired a number of poems which you'll find in this book. I'm going to read this one, which is called Habit. In the water below the bridge, a muskrat draws a circle around the moon. In the sky above the bridge, a second disk, just past full, still sheds light enough to guide my early feet and streak the wooden planks with jumping shadows of willow. Each day I follow the same path to water, stopping finally beside these same floating stones to watch as morning comes and the twinned moon retreats. Sunrise, clouds, steam, shapes of bird and tree. Consuming light and color, I live on this mystery. Each day I follow the same path. Each day I stop at the same stones. Each day, I arrive at a different place. Nothing repeats. And this is another from that series called Punctuation. Still dark, I walk early to read the morning. Stars covering the island, the dipper a question mark hanging above the wooden bridge. The sound of footsteps on gravel path seems suddenly loud, framing the stillness of garden in parentheses of motion. I pause at the crisp comma of moon, shining through needles, spaces in pine. Over and over I return to this text, study the grammar of light and arrival. Like a favored passage in a familiar book, each reading reveals new layers. From rippled water, the floating quotations of geese fly up, cross the pink-stained page, change to long, dotted lines where the sun signs its name. This poem is called Late April. Finally done with indecision and false starts, the earth throws up flowers, rooted bouquet of bluebell, cutwork clusters of celandine poppy. Tries out variations of purple and violet, larkspur and phlox. Suddenly unfurling ferns, unrolling spears of hosta and lily of the valley, opening umbrellas of mayapple, and with soft rain as accompaniment, ushering in small flocks of yellow finches. After ice, inertia, beginning is the hardest part. This poem is called Seeds. I've waited, guessed, snipped brittle stems, carefully opened pods and covers, placed tiny black flecks or hard white beads in envelopes. In my palm, these little bits of stuff hold everything: size, shape, color, gesture, habit, arrival times, dinner plans, lifespans, progeny. A gardener my whole life, I feel the honor of this trust, custodian of the magic dust to make the poems of next year. How am I doing on time? Do I have any?
You have about a minute.
Okay. So I think I'm going to end with a poem about winter, which we're racing right up to. This is called Drift. This is not in the collection, but was written this past winter. Sunday quiet wakes me early. There were rumors last night. To the window then, throwing back the curtains, rolling up the shades. In the back garden, snow is falling. Snow is dancing against black columns of tree. Snow is disappearing against the dim sky. Steep roofs are changing to geometry, pattern studies, broad intersecting planes, trapezoids and triangles laid against the fine lace of fractal branches. Back in bed, under covers and propped with pillows, I savor the smooth curve of cup on palm, the sharp track of coffee on tongue, and watch the gradual, unhurried arrival of the day as small joys pile up in sculpted drifts of light. Thank you.